Jimmy Carter is who we're talking about tonight, president. Dying at the age of 100, Carter serving only one term in the White House, but the impact of his work post-White House created peace and goodwill, enough to last lifetimes. We're speaking now with political analyst Brian Sobel. Brian, as always, it's good to see you. I want to ask, we saw some statements earlier today from both President Biden and President-elect Trump. Biden said repeatedly during his remarks today that Carter was someone who gave everyone a shot, and he was a man of integrity. Trump saying in a statement in part, saying that Carter worked hard to make America a better place, and for that, I give him my highest respect. He was a truly good man, and of course will be greatly missed, Trump says. Brian, how did Carter garner respect from both parties?
He did it by being a good and decent man. Whether you politically agreed with him or not, he was somebody who would speak with people on both sides of the aisle. He was a genuine man, really an American hero, and will be viewed as such in coming generations, irrespective of his one-term presidency. And just the length of his life, Austin, is amazing. 100 years old, serving his nation, coming out of the United States Naval Academy, becoming a submariner, then going into politics in the Georgia legislature, governor, president of these United States. Has a huge resume. And when you look back into the history of the United States, he lives longer than any president at 100 years, the second being George Herbert Walker Bush at 94, and then Reagan and Gerald Ford, and then Herbert Hoover, and actually the fifth longest living president, viewers may be interested in knowing, was our second president, John Adams, who lived to be 91 years old.
Wow. I got to ask you, too, because, and this was something you and I were talking about offline, it's kind of an amazing fact. Biden's been around long enough that he and presidential candidate Jimmy Carter crossed paths. Biden, in fact, says he was the first national figure to endorse. Senator Biden back then was the first to endorse Jimmy Carter back when he was running for office. Biden also said during his remarks today, Brian, that they are making arrangements for state services. I've seen a handful of them in my lifetime for other presidents. How does the country typically pay tribute to a president? It's not a simple affair.
No, but there is a protocol, and all presidents are sit down and actually, Austin, work through their funeral arrangements post-presidency and where they wish to be buried, of course. Jimmy Carter will go back to Plains, Georgia, but there will be a ceremony or ceremonies in Atlanta and then, of course, in Washington, D.C. And all of this is prescribed. It's all dealt with and has been dealt with years ago. So now the United States government begins carrying out the wishes of Jimmy Carter.
What will you be looking for during his state memorial events? Of course, former presidents will be in attendance at things like this, correct?
I would imagine all of the former presidents who are alive and can make it to the ceremonies will make it. It's, this is a milestone. It's a century of life, service to his nation in all different ways, like I say, military, but also in government. And those presidents that are scattered around the country, former presidents, will probably come to one or more of these ceremonies that will be held for Jimmy Carter. There will be a fair amount of pomp and circumstance as befits a former president. But, Jimmy Carter was somebody who wasn't the kind of person that stood on that. He was a down-to-earth guy, 2002 Nobel Prize winner, and somebody who, after he was president, really was more international in many respects, going around the world, with trying to spread his gospel, but also to give back to the peoples of the world through helping with groups that were building different things, looking for peace, and that's going to be his legacy.
I've been asking our guests this tonight. What do you think younger generations should know about Carter?
That he was somebody who rose to the presidency on his merits, but also because at the core, he was a good guy. I think both Republicans and Democrats believe that Jimmy Carter believed he was always doing the right thing. And I don't know that his presidency was spectacular. It came during a time of a massive energy crisis in the United States, the Iranian Revolution, and the taking of hostages, American hostages, which was not solved until Ronald Reagan really came into office. Frankly, the Iranians waited until the 11th hour at the end of Carter's presidency to release those hostages. But again, international events, domestic events, Jimmy Carter, I think, tried to handle those in a way that was fair to everybody who was at the table. And again, I think Republicans and Democrats respect him for who he was as a man.
Back in October, we all covered Carter's 100th birthday. Why do you think Carter's centennial was such a point of fascination?
I think anytime all of us meet or know somebody who has lived that long and has had such a spectacular career in terms of his beginnings, his humbleness, is going back to Plains, Georgia. He gave up his commission in the Navy to go home and run the peanut farm after his father died. Every aspect of Jimmy Carter's life is one really of service and giving back. And I think that is something that everybody can relate to.
Brian, it's good to see you. We do want to say we'll be checking in with you quite a bit as services progress, and of course, as the week progresses. We'll be checking in with you soon. Brian Sobel, as always, take care. Have a good rest of whatever's left of your weekend, whatever short amount you have left.
Yep. Thank you, Austin. Have a good night.